We are on location here at Microsoft Build. It's Todd Bishop with Tom Krazit. This is the big developer conference that Microsoft holds every year. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about mixed reality with Lorraine Bardeen. She is the general manager of mixed reality at Microsoft, and she'll be stepping into the chair next. Tom, at the very end, Scott mentioned, and here comes Lorraine right now, actually. we'll have to do some armchair analysis later. Come on in, Lorraine.
Hey guys.
How's it going? Welcome. Great. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we're live on Facebook Live and we're recording for the podcast. For those of you who might have missed part of Scott's conversation, we will have the full podcast on geekwire.com. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And now we're going to jump into the world of mixed reality. So. Great. Lorraine, and why don't you scooch on up to that mic as close as you can get. Yep, there you go. Good? Yep. So Lorraine Bardeen is the general manager and studio manager of mixed reality at Microsoft. Lorraine, give us a sense for your job.
Sure. Yeah, so I head up the engineering team that makes all of our mixed reality applications for the workplace. So you can think of them as business applications, and we announced 2 of them today, Microsoft Remote Assist and Microsoft Layout. We've been working on them for a while, and it was pretty exciting to get to announce them today. I can talk more about that in a minute. But so my team is full of all sorts of engineers. We have software engineers, we have designers, artists, PMs, business people, who all work together. And when you hear that word studio, they work together in cross-functional teams, because it's those cross-functional teams that really helps us get these products to market in an integrated way. When you're designing for mixed reality, you're designing for the real world. And so you need to understand 3D, you need to understand people's workflows in a really intimate way. So we spend a lot of time with our customers, really close with them, understanding how they work and what are going to provide those breakthroughs.
It's interesting, over the past week, we've seen some fascinating developments in the world, especially virtual reality.
Sure.
With Oculus Go and the new device from Lenovo built on Google Daydream. And so clearly, other tech companies are going into this world of virtual reality, which is obviously different from what you're doing, but in a very consumer-oriented way. And for me, for somebody who's watched Microsoft over the years, it's fascinating to see the company go in a different direction that plays to its historical strengths in the enterprise. What is your strategy with mixed reality at Microsoft?
Yeah, so since we started talking about mixed reality, when we launched or announced HoloLens, we started describing mixed reality as the spectrum. A really broad spectrum that anytime that you're bringing the digital world into the real world, that's how we think of mixed reality. And so it includes a broad view. And we partner with OEM, original equipment manufacturers, to produce devices that have much more of a virtual reality immersive experience. I think you guys are probably familiar with those. And that's on one side of the spectrum. And then the other side of the spectrum is HoloLens, and HoloLens really lets you bring your entire workflow right into the real world. And it also is untethered, right? And we believe that from watching and paying attention to our customers, as you said, we've been working with them for decades. We really understand those commercial workflows. We understand what unlocks value for our customers. We understand where they are in their digital transformation journey. So we want to show up for where they are. And we're able to do that with really paying attention to what they're doing.
For those people watching who didn't see some of the demonstrations earlier today, can you give us some examples of what you did show off and what kind of workers we're talking about here that are using these products and services?
Gotcha. So you'll hear Microsoft talk about information workers or knowledge workers. These are people who mostly work in ways like, at offices, on desks, using PCs, mobile, tablets, et cetera. And those workers are relatively well served by technology. We have to keep innovating, but they have a lot of choices at their hands. And then there's first-line workers. So that's a term that Microsoft coined, but you might have heard task workers or deskless workers or something like that. And we're using the term first-line workers because it's all about being the people, the 80% of the world's labor force who are first to the customer, they're the first to the problems in the field. They really represent companies, and so they're critical to the success of every company. But they've been largely underserved by technology. In many cases, they're moving around the world, they're using their hands, they have gloves on to do their job, they're using tools. They're not able to use the technology that's been available over the past couple of decades. And so it's really been a breakthrough with head-mounted devices like HoloLens, where you can see the real world, you can move around, and you can still use your hands to do your job. That's providing a pretty amazing leapfrog and acceleration for first-line workers to solve real problems in the real world. So today we announced two what do you call them? Products. Two applications that are really targeted at first-line workers in their companies. One's called Microsoft Remote Assist, and just briefly, what this enables first-line workers to do is bring an expert virtually on site with them. That expert can see right through their eyes, through the HoloLens. They can see what they're seeing, and they can annotate right into their real world. Because with HoloLens, it's making this spatial map of the world, and so they can write right on the machine they're trying to fix, or circle the wire, cut this one, not that one. And they can collaborate through shared video calling and image sharing. And so Remote Assist, it's using Microsoft Teams, so you can count on secure communications, et cetera. And then those experts, for companies, this is a huge breakthrough. Because right now, they're sending people out in vans all day long, out in the field, because the right expert is never at the right spot. Some of our customers are even sending people from Europe to a factory in North Carolina or to Alaska or wherever it is to fix the machine, because these are specialized machines. So now they're looking at millions of dollars of savings in travel costs. So that's Microsoft Remote Assist. And then the other one, Microsoft Layout, this is about bringing your space designs into the real world so you can design and make decisions in context. Now this is something that probably those of us in this room, we redesign rooms now and then. Not that often. Maybe we'll move a couch around.
I'm never entrusted with redesigning the room.
Exactly.
So,
and you might come home, you might notice it or not when you come home, right? But there are roles in the first line workflows and then in others where that is the primary goal. That's what you're doing every day. Think of a manufacturing line. Every time you're changing up a product, you have to switch out the manufacturing line, new machines, new specialized robotics, et cetera. Or think about a retail establishment. Every time you're doing a spring, fall, monthly refresh, you change all the end caps, change everything around. So right now, those designs are being done in design software, which is perfectly good for that purpose. But it's so hard to make the decisions because the people on site, they can't visualize it in real life. That's really hard for us to visualize things in 3D that are on a 2D screen. And so the breakthrough with Microsoft Layout is you load up your designs and you can prepare them on a PC, you can prepare them anywhere. You can use your existing 3D CAD files, different file formats, FBX, GLTF, STP, we support a lot of them. But then you bring them into the real world and everyone can be looking at it at once and make a quick decision.
So the idea really here is very similar to what the original vision was with HoloLens, where you're able to look through the lens and see the digital reality on top of the physical reality. And I was sitting there looking at that manufacturing floor demonstration that you showed on stage and thinking, I really could have used this at our last GeekWire office remodel. If I could have just stood in the middle and had the dimensions of the chairs and the desks that we wanted to put into the space. Will this ultimately turn into a consumer technology? A consumer meaning something that will impact us in our lives, perhaps through a specialist that might have the HoloLens and use it in this way?
I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, anything that you can watch and respond to that fast, there's real value there for everyone.
If I get it, then clearly it's not for the mass market, right? Is that what you're saying?
That was a subtle underlying point. No. Clearly there's value there for everyone, but it's important to us to just really look people in the eye and say, I know I can help you right now in a way that's going to transform your business versus, hey, this might be cool for you to try. And it's very clear where we are right now with that, and companies right now, they need this help with the things that Microsoft Layout, Microsoft Remote Assist help with, and we're here to provide that. And I think you're right. I think you're going to see those sort of B2C scenarios come next, business to consumer scenarios, before we see everyone at home rearranging their rooms every second.
One thing I've been thinking about as you've been describing this is, given the trends in manufacturing and factories and automation, are you just doing the advanced work for the robots here and gathering all this data?
Yeah, so one of the things we talk about is there is no shortage of jobs, et cetera, in manufacturing. All of these sectors are growing. And this is something our customers bring to us a lot. They need help actually freeing up their workers to do more and more high-value work. There's so much complex, interesting work to be done to really, manufacturing industry is at the verge of this huge digital transformation. So there's a lot of, human-focused work that needs to be done. Thinking, critical thinking, problem-solving, creativity. If you watch that video with Lee in it from ZF Manufacturing, he says, I spend all my time doing creative problem-solving. And so the more things he can offload that are just rote work that are not high value for him to do, the more he can dedicate what the company needs him to do. And that's where you see us start to pull in some of the Azure IoT Edge functionality so that these world sensing devices can take on some of that low value work and free up the workers to do things that they're really, really more than capable of doing so they can contribute to their company's success.
These products will gather a lot of data on the creative process, though. How people make decisions and how people look at environments and, someone looked at this, they saw this image, and they decided this, and then a computer can figure that out over time, more or less, right?
There's a lot of, just like, I don't know if you use workplace analytics, or if you've tried it in your sort of email and understanding how you email and how you use your time. I do at work, and I find it fascinating every week who I'm emailing with more and how I use my time. It's a functionality provided by our M365 products. So anyway, for sure, that's why we're calling it spatial analytics. Just like workplace analytics for the PC or web analytics for the web, spatial analytics are going to help companies understand how their space is being used, how people are moving through their space, how these workflows are being performed. And as Satya was saying in the keynote, just like all of the other data, this is data that is owned by the companies. And it is their enterprise knowledge graph. It's under their control, their privacy and security profile. And we're here to just produce the functionality that they can use in their own company.
If you're just joining us on the Facebook live stream, we are talking with Lorraine Bardeen. She is the General Manager and Studio Manager for Mixed Reality at Microsoft, which means Hololens and all sorts of related services. And two of the services that they announced today on the build stage were the Microsoft Remote Assist and the Microsoft Layout, which we're talking about now. If you have questions on the live stream, just pop them into the Facebook live feed. Lorraine, with both of these, how close are they to market? Are these just sort of closed betas, or are these things that any company could use today?
Yeah, great question. I should have said that. I'm obviously not doing my job here.
No, that's why we're here.
So they're both available for public preview on May 22nd. That means anyone around the world can download them as a limited time public preview. We don't have our exact date yet because we want to pay close attention to how these are working for our customers. That said, we have been in private preview with several customers. We shared a couple of them today who have been actively using these products in their workflows and helping us find areas we could improve. So our next step is public preview. We're going to be paying attention, and then we'll be excited to announce when they're generally available.
How much would you expect to pay for this system?
I don't have any information on that yet, but they are available completely free for the public preview for a limited time. Yeah, and really where pricing for anything we're going to make at Microsoft is going to be paying close attention to the value we're providing to our customers. And that's what we're doing. We're working closely with customers and really understanding these products should be saving them a lot of money. In some cases, they might be opening them up to new business opportunities they didn't have before, but they absolutely should be helping them on their digital transformation journey.
This is a super wonky Microsoft question, but I have to ask, where is your group in relation to Alex Kipman's new group, and how does that work? For people who don't know, Alex Kipman was basically the inventor of the Kinect and a driving force behind HoloLens, but now he's in this sort of other area, right?
Well, it probably seems that way from the outside, but we work together every single day. So Alex Kipman's team builds the operating system, the perception APIs, like a lot of rich platform and tech components that we use for everything we build. So we're really joined at the hip, and we work together. I mean, people from our teams are working together every hour of every day. And then we partner on areas that we're going to go to market together with. And then same thing across the other devices as well, because not sure if you were going to ask this, but Microsoft Layout is one of the devices where an immersive or VR experience is a really important part of the workflow we've discovered. So if you imagine, the breakthrough value for this product is when you're on site and you need to make a decision quickly with a lot of other people that you would never be able to visualize otherwise. However, sometimes you can't get on site quite yet. So a common scenario is where they're changing over a manufacturing line and they haven't decided how to lay it out for the next round, but the equipment isn't off the floor yet. So a space designer, a planner, a warehouse leader might spend a little time setting up the plan ahead of time, and they might use one of the devices, the Windows Mixed Reality devices, to do that. And that's what we're seeing over and over. Well, they'll lay out a room, put all the equipment in, sort of get a sense of it, do a little planning, and then they take the next step and go on site and collaborate with the team. So we're seeing that, that type of crossover to commercial VR as well in some of these scenarios.
Interesting. Yeah. One of the big announcements that was made during Satya Nadella's time on stage, the Microsoft CEO, was something called AI for accessibility. Yeah. How might mixed reality play into that whole initiative? Yeah,
I think it's so many people's favorite topic. It's one of the reasons so many people have such a strong purpose about working at Microsoft, because we believe that mission around empowering everyone. So the announcements like AI for accessibility is so satisfying and exciting. And let me give you some specific examples. So already we're using really rich speech and vision cognitive services in HoloLens and in any related application. So already it gives you some flexibility in the senses that you require people to use. So already there's some accessibility-friendly features of the device. So there are some people who use speech only. They don't use any sort of hand input or keyboard or mouse input. And then vice versa. There's some people who choose not to use speech at all. So we're on that path. There's also a lot of developers who are doing really, really interesting things around accessibility from an app's perspective. So I just heard about a developer who's made an app for HoloLens that teaches students with autism and gives them some exposure to how to read emotional cues and how to interact using verbal cues with other folks. Also, there was an amazing app I saw for escaping a smoke-filled room using audio-only cues, right? I mean, just lots of really interesting things that people are working on. And then I think we're going to be watching closely as object recognition capabilities increase using deep neural networks and machine learning, because as computer vision is increasingly capable of recognizing objects, that will help people with visual impairments who might not know what's in front of them or what they're about to encounter. So you see a lot of that coming out of our research department. That's just being fed right into our product lines.
What's the most mind-blowing thing you've ever done with a HoloLens?
Ooh, I would say, hands down, the first time I gave the HoloLens to my kids, my son, without even knowing what was on it, opened up an app and put a holographic cannon to explode his sister. So the reason this is so mind-blowing is that I'm not worried at all about the next generation's ability to figure out how to integrate mixed reality, AI, quantum computing, everything else. But we also have to remember that we're just human. And fundamentally, in the end, we're all just going to explode our sister, put holographic poo around the room, and we just have to keep a sense of humor about what we're inventing, I think.
So I mentioned at the very beginning the competitive landscape and the fact that we have seen these consumer virtual reality devices come out, and obviously Microsoft, through its partners, is working on devices, and there are devices in the market that work with Windows 10. Yeah. Is there a risk, though, to the broader vision for this virtual reality continuum if Microsoft is not really front and center in the consumer market? In other words, if people associate Facebook and Google and others with virtual and alternative realities, is there a risk that they're going to say, oh, Microsoft's not really in that game, and that your enterprise play may suffer?
I think that people already spend a lot and enjoy a lot of their social time using Facebook and other products like that. And I don't see that changing dramatically, and I think that's great. People get a lot of joy out of it. And people get a lot of joy out of entertaining and gaming on Xbox Live and related platforms and Mixer and everything like that. So, we definitely play a part in people's downtime, their entertainment time, their social time. And I think we've always tried to really weave that together, to acknowledge, or not just acknowledge, to embrace that it's the same person. It's the same person who goes to work in the morning and works all day and then goes home and games, or maybe on their lunch break they're doing a lot of sort of social activity. And we might not be the person who's providing the experience in all those cases. In most cases we won't be, but we're there to support the person weaving in and out of those parts of their life. And I think it's going to be the same for mixed reality. Something like HoloLens right now, where it's providing breakthrough value is really as a specialized tool or specialized experience when you need it. And that's absolutely the right way to think of it. And over time, those times are going to come up more and more during the day when this is really, wow, this really helps me. This really makes a huge difference. And that's going to come up in your work life, and it's going to come up in your personal life. And I think we think of this as it's the same person going throughout their day, and sometimes we're more important to them, and sometimes we're a little less important to them, and that's okay.
What's next, to the extent that you can say?
Yeah, so I sort of gave a pretty hard hint at we're paying really close attention. We've identified these 5 workflows, and we're committed to delivering value against all of them. So we announced products against 2 of them today, and we're showing off a lot of work we're doing against the 5th, which is the access to spatial and IoT data. So if you make it out to the show floor, you'll see a lot of those devices I talked about there. The announcement's not any devices. The announcement is hey, take together Azure IoT and Microsoft Graph, and think of mixed reality. The way I like to think of it is data in context. Wherever you are, you have what you need right then. And sometimes it's best provided visually. Sometimes it's best provided by just exposing some data about what's going on. So we've talked about 3 things we're doing there, and we're really looking forward to providing value against the other 2 as well.
So, and to remind us, the other 2 are?
The other 2 are training and development, and then product-focused collaboration, when people, multidisciplinary teams come together to collaborate on a product. A great thing to look at for that is Ford showed off a multidisciplinary collaboration that they do across teams to build cars using HoloLens, and they've really found it's broken down these walls that exist between teams making the same product at a company. And it's as simple as allowing them all to see the same thing at the same time has totally changed how they think about that process.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Lorraine, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
You. Thank you.
So Lorraine Bardeen is General Manager and Studio Manager of Mixed Reality at Microsoft. We're here on location at Microsoft Build. It's Todd Bishop with Tom Krazit. So Tom, you obviously are focused heavily, not as much on mixed reality, but on the cloud and what that means for Microsoft, and especially the competitive landscape with Google and Amazon is really interesting as a frame of reference. Based on what you saw here today, did Microsoft move the needle with these developers?
I'm not convinced they leapfrogged anybody. I mean, Microsoft's doing a lot of interesting stuff. They're not the leader in the cloud market, but they're not a laggard either. They're in second place, and they're delivering a lot of technology that is interesting. The IoT stuff, you can argue about like Amazon is doing plenty of IoT stuff. Google is doing plenty of IoT stuff. It's not that anyone's ignoring these trends. It's really just about where do you care to focus your attention and your time, and if they wanted to make IoT a competitive advantage, I think it's an interesting way for them to differentiate. Google has gone really hard after AI. Amazon leads in kind of everything else, so there's that. I don't think they introduced anything today where someone who wasn't in the Microsoft world would go, okay, that's it. Now I'm in.
Making the plunge.
But I don't think I don't think they're behind really in a way that would hurt them on any of this stuff.
The one thing that we did not talk about yet, which might have been the biggest surprise of the keynote, if for only the fact that it was not included in the embargoed pre-briefing, but only hinted at, was the first public demonstration of Alexa, Amazon's Alexa and Microsoft's Cortana talking to one another. I was sitting there trying to figure out how I would use that. In other words, I
didn't get this at all, actually.
Yeah, so the whole idea was you could use Alexa to basically invoke Cortana and do something across the two. It felt a little forced. I feel like when Microsoft and Amazon first announced this, it got a lot of attention because Cortana and Alexa are going to be friends. I think based on what I saw there on stage, they've got a lot to prove in terms of the actual utility of this.
I think it's one of those things where maybe you've got an Echo in your house, but you want to access your work calendar. So you do that through Cortana.
What's the market for that, though? That was a struggle for me to envision.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's, for those companies, it's more about making their existing products better. It's like you're not necessarily going to buy an Echo now that you can use Cortana with it. You were probably going to buy it anyway. But, that's a service that they can deliver to you that makes you feel a little bit better about that purchase.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just makes sense to integrate these things. It's only political barriers that are holding them back. So, in some sense, why not?
Any other parting words from you here from Build Day One?
Not really. I was a little underwhelmed, I have to say, by some of the Azure cloud-related stuff. None of it was bad. I just don't think they really, like I said, made a breakthrough or a leapfrog. Last year they introduced the Azure Cosmos DB, which was a very interesting new database that's actually, they announced last week, made them a lot of money. I don't think we really saw anything like that this week, but I'm looking forward to some presentations later in the week, sessions with key Microsoft Cloud executives to learn more.
Excellent. All right, you can check out all of our coverage at geekwire.com/cloud. And by the way, don't forget, GeekWire's Cloud Tech Summit is coming up in June.
Featuring Mark Rusinovich, the CTO of Microsoft Azure.
And other speakers, including representatives of Amazon and Google. You can find out more about that and get tickets at geekwire.com/cloud summit. That's coming up June 26th and 27th.
That's right, over in Bellevue.
In Bellevue. That's our second annual Cloud Tech Summit. It is our big technical conference of the year, and really great because there are a lot of deep dive technical sessions where you can get information from people hands-on, and it's really one of the only big platform agnostic cloud tech conferences out there.
Yeah, and we've gotten a lot of really, really great technical people who have agreed to give talks at this event. So if you're a developer, it's a fantastic way to learn more about some of these emerging technologies from the people who are creating them.
All right, once again, that's geekwire.com/cloud summit. You can follow all of Tom's coverage at geekwire.com/cloud. And we are going to be continuing our coverage from Microsoft Build with the day 2 keynotes tomorrow, which focus on Windows.
That's right. And we might see a little bit more consumer facing developments during that as well.
All right. Hey, thanks to everybody for joining us on the live stream. Until next time, we'll talk to you from Microsoft Build. I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Tom Krazit. Thanks a lot.
Talk to you next time.